I just did not want that pressure. And so, of course, right away, we jumped into it and we were like, okay, I told him, I said, this is going to be challenging, but this is what God is, calling us to do. We jumped into it. And then people were hurting, like we have these Christian friends, I would say, who were married for years and they felt like they couldn't have brokenness because they're Christian or they love the Lord. So how can they complain? And so we wanted a safe space for them because I felt like people that were, I guess you could say, church folk, they felt like they couldn't be broken because everything that was the issue, they could just take to God and then, he would just heal it and provide. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Hey, what's up, fam? Hey, it's your boy, Kel, man, and
Tanya.
Yeah, man. So we coming to you guys, man, with another episode of Couples Connect, and we got an amazing, amazing couple. We about to get all in their business, man. See what's going on, what they do, man, how they live in life. Maybe they can share some experiences and some nuggets, man, to help us to get through this married life. Man, please help us, man. Welcome, Mr. Otis and Miss Cynthia to the podcast, man. What's going on, good people? How y'all feeling, baby?
Hey, thank you all for the invite. Hey, going well, and thank you all for the invite.
Yeah, definitely glad to be here. Thank you all.
Good deal. Good deal. So, hey, man, so we recently connected. I connected with Miss Cynthia, man, through their nonprofit. You guys got some amazing stuff going on with your nonprofit. And first time getting a chance to meet Mr. Otis here today. But we're excited to talk to you guys, man. But we've kind of gotten to know you guys just a little bit. But just for everyone else who might not know you guys, man, tell us a little bit about you, man. Like how long you've been married, all that good stuff. Kids, all that good stuff. What y'all got going on?
So all the stuff, all the things. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so like you said, Otis and Cynthia Hunter here. We've actually been married 25 years this past February.
Wow.
Really have been connected or dating since the 7th grade. So very, very long time. Have 2 teenage daughters, 16-year-old Kelsey, 17-year-old Jessica. And they are the, I guess you can say, the ends of everything for us, keeping us busy and going, being young teenagers in high school.
Yeah.
Like it. Cynthia, you want to add anything to that?
I think he covered it. We're working people, we're nonprofit people, we're church folk, we're just regular people.
What kind of nonprofit you guys got?
So we have a family faith nonprofit. It's Tower of Faith Outreach. And as you know, we are all things family, from coaching and mentoring to networking to we have a prayer ministry. So all the things, anything that's surrounding the family, that's pretty much what we focus on. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So you say, Mr. O, you say 25 years y'all been married?
25 years.
Wow. So how long were y'all together in total?
So, I mean, 30 plus years. I mean, we've been, like I said, we've been knowing each other since 7th grade. So, I mean, we really grew up together. So through junior high school, as well as college. So definitely 30 plus years, 25 married.
Oh my God. Wow. Hey man, so I know y'all got some stuff to share. Y'all, listen, y'all been in it since y'all was snotty nose and stuff, baby. Y'all
Since kids.
Since kids, man. Yeah. Y'all grew up in this married life.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
We actually feel like family most of the time. We were 7th grade, we were 7th grade, 12-year-olds, thinking we had it all together. We've been rocking a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. Otis, tell me, man, what after 7th grade, you're dating this young lady. What got you to the point to say, you know what, I think it's time to put a ring on it?
I think as human beings, and when you've met the right person, when you've met someone that is your yin to your yang. When Cynthia and I first met, great relationships, great conversation, a lot of similarities, believe it or not, just from a upbringing and growing up. We both being from Alabama, so very rural part of the state. So we had a lot in common. So it was really easy conversations, and us can relate to.
So, Miss Cynthia, was it easy to just say yes as soon as he asked you? Do you have to think about it, or
Yeah, I had to
let me
wait
get
a minute. I had to wait a minute.
you.
I think I waited a minute. I was like, listen, we both are from the South and we both grew up poor, and we had our own struggles with relationships as far as our families and everything. We didn't see the perfect couples, so we didn't know what that looked like. So he's talking about forever, forever. I was like, wait, can we get school out of the way? Can we do some things first? Because what if it's not forever, And so, but yeah, it was a no brainer, it was definitely a yes, in the right time. I think school trumped everything for me. And then once we were finished with that,
Gotcha.
okay, I was like, ask
So,
me again. Ask me again.
oh, did you ask her while y'all was still in school? You asked her to marry while y'all was still in high school?
Well, no, college. We're
Yeah.
both still in college, yeah.
College.
So we
Okay.
neither one of us had graduated. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good deal, man. Well, I know that you guys eventually y'all got married, and eventually y'all got to the point to where y'all were actually had a couple, a group, if you will. I don't know how you would place it, but where y'all help couples. Y'all talk with couples. I don't know if you actually went to the extent of counseling couples, but y'all had events that really was geared towards couples to kind of help them stay together, and all that good stuff. What kind of drove y'all to that point and wanting to do that and take that because that's a responsibility. What we're finding, like trying to be in that place where we're trying to encourage marriage, highlight it, still make it look sexy, still trying to keep people together, let them know that, man, look, you're gonna go through some ups and downs. It ain't always just rainbows, and that's it's tough though, man, because sometimes it ain't all rainbows in our house. So how we can
Right.
tell somebody else, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's a little weight, that we feel. But how did you guys go about it? What made y'all want to get into that space with other couples to help them out?
Well, let me jump on that first. So when we first started, it was part of the outreach, right? So we have this nonprofit. It's all about family. It's all about building and all of these things. I shared earlier that we had our struggles coming up. Both of our households were not your ideal situation. So okay, so here we are with this family outreach. I'm like, of all people, we should not be in charge of this. That's what I felt. And so God spoke and said something about marriage ministry. I was like, oh, this is going to be crazy because we are not the people to be speaking on marriages. And so I talked to him and I said, you know what this means, right? If we do this, it means that eyes are upon us. It means that people are going to expect us to have the perfect marriage. And I was like, and we're so real people. It's just not perfect. We have our challenges, like you mentioned earlier, like everybody, but then people think that you don't. And so they start making you the bar. And I just did not want that pressure. And so, of course, right away, we jumped into it and we were like, okay, I told him, I said, this is going to be challenging, but this is what God is, calling us to do. We jumped into it. And then people were hurting, like we have these Christian friends, I would say, who were married for years and they felt like they couldn't have brokenness because they're Christian or they love the Lord. So how can they complain? And so we wanted a safe space for them because I felt like people that were, I guess you could say, church folk, they felt like they couldn't be broken because everything that was the issue, they could just take to God and then, he would just heal it and provide. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. That's when you are broken, I think, when you're supposed to have it all together. We're all broken vessels. And so I wanted to make sure that they were able to see like a real example. We weren't always happy. I always love him, but we're not always friends. I don't always like him, he don't always like me. And so I was like, let's do this. And of course, like anything, the enemy came at us real fast. As soon as we got in that spotlight of saying, let's do a marriage ministry, and it came real fast. I remember it being a struggle trying to be in a space to encourage other folks. And we got our own personal stuff going on that we trying to balance, and people were just like, well, you guys have it all together. I'm like, I don't even like him. And he don't like me. We really just trying to be a blessing to y'all, but we're trying to get it together ourselves. And so it was just from a need, it was from a need and it was out of obedience. We were obedient enough to say, okay, God, you want us to do this, but we are terrified. We are not the ones, but we did it. Obedience.
Wow. So out of obedience, you guys were obedient in that space to do that. And then I mean, how long did y'all carry on that ministry? How long did y'all were ahead of that?
For about 2 years. And then after like the second conference, I think it was about, we had, how many couples were at that library at that time?
At least 25, 30.
About 25, 30 couples.
Yeah.
We are in front of it, not in a good space, but we were following the script. And so after that one, we got through it. It was amazing. It was wonderful. It was like a moment. And so we had another couple we were friends, very close friends, but we still are close friends with them today. And so for us on the outside looking in, and we get it that nobody's perfect, but in our eyes, I was like, good, they're about the closest thing to the perfect skipping couple. Let's pass the baton to them. Let them do it. Let them do it, because I'm tired of fighting and arguing over something that I knew was going to be a challenge trying to do this, And so they took it for a little while. So I think in total, it was about 3 years of a ministry. We had about 25, 30 couples, like you said. And so it was awesome. It kind of started there, but then it went into some counseling things and some, some spaces where we would just have like individual couples and talking to them, because, people would reach out, and needed some more. The conference was great, and the axe throwing was great, but we need to talk to you about some stuff, And so it was that kind of thing. And so it just kept growing. But I mean, we did it directly for about 3 years, and then we tried to get away from it. And it's been like those one-on-one kind of conversation with folks about their situations.
Otis, when Cynthia brought this to you initially, how did you feel? Were you apprehensive, or were you on board right away? Or did she have to pull your arms to make you?
Definitely not on board. Definitely not on board. I mean, I'll be honest and say, and I tell her this all the time, I think her walk and her path with spirituality is a lot more closer than mine. I am a faithful person, and I do believe in God and Christianity and different things of that nature. But I told her, kind of like what she said, like, no one is perfect, and nor do I want people to view us as being perfect, because we're very imperfect people. There are a lot of imperfect people out there. One thing that I can tell you, something that, I really believe in, faith without works is dead. And so, even when it relates to a marriage or relationship or a job or whatever, I mean, you can have faith, but you got to do a little work too, as it comes to it, because it's not just going to fall into your lap. So, definitely when she came to me, I mean, it was definitely some tugging, because, again, and I've even, talked to my pastors and different things, and they've even approached me about, being a deacon. I'm like, nah, pastor, no, sir. Not me, not ready, not headed that way. I will come and support and be at church, but I feel that I'm still working on myself. I feel that we're still working on each other. And again, if we step out there, we definitely want to step out there and right and make sure that we can be 100% committed and faithful to it.
Man, that's crazy, because lots of times I think we shy away from maybe something that could be that someone else see inside of us, right? Maybe it's something like, hey man, you'll be a great deacon. I think you can stand in that spot and really make an impact in the church. But we know our sin, we know where we at, right, spiritually and stuff like that, and we kind of shun away from those positions, right, where we might be getting a calling, so to speak. But and it's crazy, man, because the as you were saying that, the little quote that we've heard before comes to mind, and it's like, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. Mm-hmm. Right. So so no matter what, even though we may feel like we're broken and we're rich, we're filthy. I mean, I sinned yesterday. I cussed somebody out just now, and you want me to be a deacon. But man, to be honest, the more I'm living a little bit, man, it doesn't matter what your sins are. It's just a matter that you have to it's your obedience to God. Like Cynthia mentioned in the beginning, that you guys were obedient to it. That's what's really the main part that God is looking for, your obedience. We think that God don't know what our sin is. He already knows what our sin is, right? He just wants us to be obedient. So anyway, so I look at even at with myself with Tanya is like we're trying to move a little bit more into certain ministries. I say ministries, like we're getting back to our couples ministry at church. So we're doing little things that's trying to lead us a little bit more into that direction. And that sometimes that question come up, in couples ministry to do certain things that we feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. Then also that standard, right? That we
Yep.
become like that standard, like Cynthia mentioned. And anyway, so how did y'all handle that? How did y'all handle people looking at y'all like, man, y'all goals, y'all couples goals, right? At that point, y'all doing ministry, y'all got it together. So what was going on behind the scenes that people just didn't see? What was some of the stuff that y'all were dealing with that y'all felt like, man, y'all don't want us to do this. We the wrong people. We got the wrong one.
I mean, to your point, and I mean, I think you said it best. I consider myself to be a realist, and I will definitely give it to you how it is, politically correctly, or not politically correctly, if I need to be. Like I said, with the upbringing and the way that I was brought up, I didn't want to be again, put on that pedestal and know that Cynthia want to be, because we know that we're imperfect. We know that we have disagreements. We know that, we have very passionate debate or conversation. We know that, to your point, to where, we might not be thinking clearly, or, instead of us saying this, we should have done X, or let's be realistic, just like you all are a married couple. Some people you just want to deal with. Why are they calling me? Why are they texting me? I don't want to talk to them, so being able to just kind of put some of those things to the side and really focus on it. And then I think the other piece too is, people, like I said, sometimes people put you in a position on a pedestal that you didn't raise your hand. And again, one of the first things, and we've gotten the conversations, you all, the couples goals, and I was like, hey, at the end of the day, we're human beings. Mm-hmm. We breathe the same way that you breathe, and just because we're smiling doesn't always mean that we're happy. We just look that way with you. And maybe when we get in the car, when we're in another different conversation, it's totally different. So, just really being able to put those things to the side, and go from there. But like I said, a lot of times people will come to us in couples, and I was like, hey man, it ain't all roses. It is not. And to be with anyone for the amount of time that we've been, and we all see couples that have been together for 50, 60 years. I mean, like, it was like, hey, we ain't talked to each other in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and sometimes you just need that space in order to come back to really figure out what it is that you missed.
Did the group, did it help strengthen your marriage, or did it expose some things that was going on in your marriage that you guys had to deal with?
That's good. I feel like it was more of a strengthening, because we had to face us. We had to face ourselves. Like I think I mentioned to you in a conversation about being on autopilot, following the script. We had gotten so accustomed to following the script in all of these years, right? We've been together since 7th grade. So we follow the script. There's somebody coming, sit right there, be quiet, smile real nice. Okay, great. Cameras off. Oh, you make me sick. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And so we had gotten so accustomed to following the script, I consider us the matriarchs in our families. Again, small town, we got out, hey, we're the goal, oh, they went to school, call them. They're married, call them. They, all the things, call them, and so we became like the standard in our family. So that weight is a big responsibility. You don't get to cut it off. You cannot have anything, or you cannot like each other. They still think, oh, that is the mark, And so we already have that weight with our family. And then to come into this thing, and God is saying, hey, also, I want you to do this ministry. I want you to do show an example of what family looks like, show an example of what raising kids look like, what being married looks like, even when you don't like each other, but the responsibility, the assignment of being married, show that, show that even in your imperfections, show that. And so here we are in this space of, okay, we got the family who's looking, we're trying to be like all imperfect in our space way out here in Texas, and we got the people looking. So we just can't be broken. Like, for real. Like, we can't have an honest conversation with anybody because they're looking at us, they're adorning us, they're looking up to us. Like, we don't want you to look up to us. I want to be able to complain without you feeling like, no, but not him. And I'm sure he needs that space to be able to complain. And then they'll say, no, not her, but we didn't have that. And so, you're talking about trying to be in a space where we're trying to just live, but then we're also having to follow the script. And that's what that felt like a lot of times. And so to be asked to do more of that, it was weighted, it was weighted. And so we grew a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We grew a lot with the outreach, with the ministry of the marriage thing. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like, I don't even want this. Like, this is crazy. I don't care what they do. That's their business. Like, I need to figure out why you're not doing X, Y, Z. I need to figure out why I get upset every time you say this. I don't want to help them. And people calling and they would ask exactly the same thing. So it was always funny to me. I was like, man, God, people always say God has a sense of humor. I was like, yeah, he does. Because this is hilarious. And I'm getting upset about it because I'm tired, So yeah, that was our reality, like we mentioned earlier, I'll say this and then I'll pass it. We coming from a small town, coming from a lot of brokenness. And so we're dealing with those things, we're dealing with, people saying one thing and doing something different. I always say I have a trust issue, I just it's really hard, to trust. And then you got somebody saying, hey, do you trust me? I'm like, no. Like, I'm really, really trying to deal with doubt, self-doubt. And then now you're telling me to trust you on top of that, because that's what it looked like. It was a lot of doubt from where we're from. You expect people to be broken. You expect them to lie. You expect them to cheat. You expect them to do all these things. And so when you're sitting up there and you're being told that, you need to trust, you need to, but how do I do that? So we learned a lot about ourselves in that moment of trying to be a blessing to somebody else. It was weird, but we did.
Wow. So tell me, what do you guys, man, working with couples, for the time that you guys did, and them, calling you for counsel and just for your advice on certain things. What do you say maybe the top 2 or 3 things that people are struggling with in terms of marriage? What are you hearing? What did you hear from a lot of couples that they were struggling with?
I mean, I think one of the first things that a lot of couples struggle with is finances. At the end of the day, and I think they struggle with the finance piece in, say, for example, the head of the household, right? And speaking
you mean
from
like the position. You mean like the
yes.
position of the head of the household based on who makes more money or whatever? Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean that's still common to today. I think when you look at married couples, you say in sickness and health and death do us part, and you want a partner that is going to be there for you if something were to happen. Cynthia and I, we've had our ups and downs from a financial standpoint, and she's rocked with me when I wasn't there, and I've rocked with her when she wasn't there. And I think some people are not able to turn that switch on and off. And I think I think that's one of the biggest things, the finances piece, because let's be realistic. I mean, from a male perspective, and I've talked to men that are not in that position and they feel defeated, they feel beat down. And, I think that should lead to real conversation with your spouse, right? Trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. Are you living outside of your means? And I've talked to a lot of people about, once again, I said I was a realist, right? So are you really being real to the situation at hand that is going on? Are you having these real conversations to talk about, okay, this is where we're at, this is where we want to be. And so I'm going to say finances is one of the first ones that leads to it.
Wow. What's another one that you've seen, Cynthia?
I think another one that I've seen is just trying to bring 2 separate, strong individuals and be on one accord. Just bringing that cohesiveness to the forefront. That was one of our challenges. I was very strong. Otis was very strong, and so when he was talking, some of the stuff he was talking, I was like, I don't know what he's talking about, because we're not even doing that. We're not going to do that, And that was hard. And that was hard because it wasn't that. It was like, okay, well, let's not be in order in the house. It wasn't even that. It was just more of, if I didn't agree or if he didn't agree, we just kind of kept our same momentum. And so I think it's really important to for everybody to kind of get over themselves and not be so I don't even know the right word, not even selfish, just prideful, or and say, I have the final say. We're a couple, like, we're together. There's no, let me make this decision and then I'll tell him later. No, we gonna talk about it. I'm gonna ask God, and then I'm gonna talk to Otis, and we gonna see. And I think, but that took some getting to, because we were such individuals. Like, even with this is different because we're so busy. Otis got his projects, I got my projects, and then I'll catch you up. I'll let you know what we did. And so we deal with that, and so we're trying to we it a lot, and I talk in we a lot, but a lot of times we're on our islands, just because we have so many other things that we've always done, and just trying to bring those things together, get on the same page, get on that one accord. And a lot of times when that doesn't happen, it causes frictions in other areas. So that was some of the things we were running into.
Great.
I was going to ask, so you said that you guys were operating like independently, right? Mm-hmm. So what did that look like? But also, do you believe that you guys have to have something together to work on? This is outside of the kids, something together, a project, or you guys had the marriage thing once before. Mm-hmm. What are you working on now? And do you believe that you have to have something or be working on something together as a couple in order to stay connected or in sync with each other?
We definitely do. Because I'll get in my little cloud and I'll just be focused on what I'm doing. And he'll be like, oh, we in clouds? Okay, bet. I'm in my cloud too. We're just such strong individual people, because we've had to be that in the families. We have to be that, in our lives and on our jobs. We both have been in, high level, professional positions and different things. So we'll just go into we'll veer into our little roles, and then we'll be like, I need to talk to my spouse about that. And so we have to be reminded to check with one another. And so it's a challenge for us. It's one of the things that we are excited about now on this venture God has us on coming together as one again. After all these years, again, we're coming back to, because we didn't learn it the first 2, 3, 15,000 times. So we're here now. But for us, I think it's so essential, because it's so easy for us, and I'm sure like other folks, to get lost with the kids, to get lost with what's going on with your finances, to get lost with what's going on with the job, and just focus on that. And just, you just kind of meet in the middle with nothing, because you've depleted yourself to everybody else. Doing great things, doing ministry, doing outreach, doing, corporate job, whatever, taking care of the kids, doing great things, but just kind of, eliminating each other. So for me, that's we have to.
I think, just to add to what she said and what you asked was, I don't think you have to be necessarily doing something together, but I think when you are, it makes us a lot better. Because like I said, if you're with this person you've been with, say, really half of your life, which we have been half of our life, she knows me better than anyone, just like I feel I know her better than anyone. And so we're able to not necessarily complete each other's sentences, but we know how we feel about certain things. So, we are something that we've been talking about for probably the past 10 years, that we are now really about to put pen to paper and look at starting our own business and doing just some other different things. We've talked about it individually, but I think with her background, my background, we can come together and we can really make this a unified front for us to move forward. One of the biggest things that we're thinking about now, like I said, we have teenage daughters. And so everybody talk about, generational and financial wealth. So really trying to make sure that we're doing things that's going to set them up, not necessarily to be rich, but put them in a position way better than even what we are in. And trust me, we're in way better positions than what we were raised up in, by all means. I mean, I worked in work study in school as well as Cynthia, but some of that work study money, we sent home back to our parents because they didn't have anything. So it's just really trying to get together and figure out what the future holds for us and how do we continue to build that foundation for our kids as we move forward.
So tell me this: what area has being married to Cynthia Otis? What has been the most area she has challenged you in as her husband?
The biggest challenge is honestly spirituality, getting closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Just really, trying to keep me focused and centered as it relates to that. And I definitely thank her for that, because I am a lot farther than I used to be because of her. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. We moved around a little bit, and we never really found the church and different things. But now that we're here in Dallas, and we're really has found a really good church home and everything. So hers is definitely bringing me closer to God. No ifs, or buts about that. And I think the other thing, and I've always told her this too as well, like I said, even in college, she was my motivation. She's my inspiration to really help me drive and move forward to do a lot of different things. She graduated a few months before I did, but she was always the one that was kind of pushing me to, and telling me I can do it, and, being there right there beside me if I'm sitting for a test and helping me, and even in my professional career too also. So, I'm going to say the first one is definitely bringing me closer to God. Hands down, bar none.
Good. How about on the flip side, Cynthia? What has Otis stressed you in your growth?
Well, first of all, we don't ever talk about this, so this is good. I'm like, wow. I don't know. He mentioned that he's a realist, right? And so, I'm always trying to see the good. Once it's a cut for me. But I'm always trying to see the good, because I guess that God component or what, I don't know. But anyway. I'm always trying to see the good. Otis is my realist. He says, listen, you have done this. He's my strategic planner. He's going to throw it out there. You've done this, you've done that. You've done this, you hit this quality control here. You've handled this, you went through these phases. I was like, did he just call out all my things? And he's like, time to let it go, babe. It's done. It's over. So he's my reality check. Even when I'm trying to think about the butterflies and the unicorns, I was like, I think we can save it. We can say, he's like, no, it's done. So in different things, because that's just my thing. I try to see the best. I try to see the next thing. I think we can revive it. He's like, no, sometimes it's time to let it go, or it's time to be done. And so he's definitely helped me to grow in those areas.
A lot of times I tell her she's the brains, I'm the muscle. It comes to a point where I like to tell people, it comes to a point where you have to put a period at the end of the sentence. Let's stop messing around. See, I almost saying then, I almost said something in. We have to just stop messing around and just move forward and get it done.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So normally I'll get those calls. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what do you think you guys' biggest struggle is then as a couple? What is the biggest thing that you feel like, because we talk to a lot of couples, and sometimes they deal with certain things, for years and years, that just constantly kind of rear his head in their marriage, that they've been dealing with, trying to get through, but for whatever reason, they just haven't been able to work through it. Or maybe they did work through it, but it was like one of the things that just they struggle with for the longest in their marriage until something happened. Maybe there was growth on both ends, on both parts, or maybe, they had a breakthrough with that particular situation. Can y'all pinpoint any one particular thing you felt like, man, this was in our marriage, we struggled with this thing for a minute? Anything that stands out?
I'm going to say is putting us first. And Cynthia's kind of hit on it too as well. We all love family. We all love our people. And it's nothing that we want to do for them. But I think at the end of the day, you have to remember my immediate now is her and my kids. And, you have a lot of outside sources, sometimes that we still trying to help, still trying to be there for. And I said, I get it. But they're adults. They're grown. And you got to let them go walk on their own 2 feet. So I'm going to say really with just putting us first, because we've played I'm going to say second row in our lives because we were trying to put everybody else before us. and we were trying to be that positive force. We were trying to be that you know what I'm saying,
saving grace.
that saving grace. And, you know, it would sometimes put us in a situation where, you know, we might be upset or having passionate conversation about something like, wait a minute, ain't even got nothing to do with us though. You know, ain't even our problem. And we are getting tied up into a situation that's going on with someone else. And like, you know what? We got to let that be. We got to focus on us. So putting us first. You know, I can remember back, and Cynthia probably can too as well. She's very humble. She's very free hearted. And again, I said, hey, babe, that's it. We're done. You got to stop. You know, you can't be traveling to go do this and go do it. You got to stop. You know, I'm here at the house. Where are you? You know what I'm saying? You're out doing, you know what I'm saying, trying to help others in order to help me. You know, come home to me. You know, so putting us first.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Cynthia, you say the same thing?
I say the same thing, but I also say just communicating, like just making it real clear. Like I think we have a tendency to stop communicating. You know, some people, like, they argue, they whatever. We go into this silent mode. It's all thought. It's all thought now, you know. Okay, so I thought you should have got the cues and you didn't get them. Bad.
Yeah,
we're talking. It's
out of my mind. Gotta tell me, I'm not behind.
It's a shutdown. So I think for me, like he mentioned earlier, and it's very similar on both sides. Like, we have so many obligations outside of this house, you know, and over the years it grows. You know, when people find out that you're the matriarch, you're the point of contact, they start, you know, contacting, right? They start reaching out because you are that person, that source for them. And so for me, because we have so much outside things going on, things that don't have anything to do with him and I, dealing with the kids and all of their, you know, friends and circles and events and, you know, sports or whatever, all of that, and family things and job things and all that. So I'm big on it coming back home. Like, I need all of this back, and I need today to be nothing, where we're just sitting here doing absolutely what? Nothing. And everybody's out of the way. It's just me and you. This is our time. Because, you know, everybody have their love language or whatever they call it. I don't know. But it doesn't matter to me. My thing is us. You know, I don't want to know about what event we need to show our face at. What are we doing to do nothing to be together, just to spend that time? Even if it's just, you know, reading a book, or it's just watching a movie that we've seen 15,000 times, we're in each other's space. And I think a lot of times we go like, well, if we're in each other's space, let's fill it up with things that we need to do. Like, let's talk about the college trip to California. Like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I mean, I have my degrees, you have yours. I want to talk about us. You know, I don't want to talk about what they got going on. Again, we're bringing in other folks, although we're here and no one is here, you know. So I think the biggest thing is just making sure that we find time to it's just us, because we would fill that space, because we're worker bees. We're both worker bees. I think we would fill that space with a conference real quick. We're planning for an event real quick. You know, I've been to set up some boxes for a show that we're doing. We're not supposed to do that. This is our time to do absolutely nothing. You know, absolutely nothing. You know, like, even with this is so different. We don't just sit and talk about us. I can tell you about them kids. I can tell you about Tower of Faith. I can tell you about what, you know, all these things. I'm sure he could tell you all about work. We could go there all day. But to come and to be forced in this space, this has been good, because we don't do this for us. You know, we don't do this.
This episode of Couples Connect is sponsored by Just Like You Hair Care System. Introducing Just Like You Hair Care, the perfect solution for healthy, growing, moisturized hair. Our hair growth oil is enriched with essential oils like calendula, lavender, rose petals, also enriched with nourishing jojoba oil, promoting growth, reducing breakage, and restoring scalp health. Follow with our moisturizing leave-in cream to lock in hydration for smooth, manageable hair all day long. So you get to feel confident with thicker, stronger, and deeply moisturized hair. Our products are made with all natural ingredients and is designed for women or anyone who want a holistic approach to hair wellness. Shop today and experience the transformation. Just Like You Hair Care,
your hair, your confidence, and your journey. The link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode.
You know, that's good, because in the questions that I was asking, because lots of times when we're talking to couples and we ask certain questions, a lot of times the questions that we're asking are stuff that they never thought about. And it's questions about them. They're married. But lots of times we don't give thought to that. We just so much, maybe like you said, she's doing this, I'm doing this, we're in our own little worlds. And, you know what I'm saying, I'll meet you later on for whatever, for a few minutes to eat or whatever. And then, we that worker bee syndrome, right? So it's like, that's the thing where you start to realize, like, man, I don't, am I in a marriage, or is this my roommate? Right. And then you lose the connection, you lose all those vital things that you need to keep you connected in your marriage. Right. So anyway, that's why I was asking some of the questions. You had something, baby?
Yeah, I was just writing it down so I don't forget. This is why we do this. One of the reasons why is because of couples like you guys, couples like us, and the couples who are going to see this. Is that it's okay, right? I'm not saying that this is normal, but this is what happens in a marriage when you've been married for a long time, or if you're just now about to get into marriage. You can probably work on something like this. Don't allow yourself to not come together and have time for each other to check in, see how we doing. How are you feeling? What are you feeling? What can I help you with? That, things like that. And it sounds like that's something that's really hard for you guys because your lives are so busy.
Yeah.
But just think about, and for Kevin and I, we have to do this. He's good with, we haven't talked in a while, right? We need to check in or something like that. But imagine doing that and being connected in a way that you've never been connected before. So then you have to ask yourself, in a situation like this, I believe, well, we've been knowing each other for 7 years, been married for 25. What has really kept us together? Has it been the kids? Is it because we're in love? Is it family? What has really kept us together? How well do we know each other? And that's my question right now, is what has kept you both together in this marriage for all these years?
That's a good question. Love, to start off. I'm gonna just speak for me.
Well, speak for you, man. That's how I'm speaking.
Wait, hold on. We watch a lot of talk shows, and people say, they together, whatever. No, we're together for love. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for love. I mean, that's off the top. That is what has kept us together. But again, I said early on, we're also here together because I know I'm nothing without her, and I feel it goes the same way. I know for a fact that she moves me and inspires me and gives me energy to do things that I couldn't conquer. Like I said, I go back to my undergrad, and I remember this just like it was yesterday. And I said, girl, if it weren't for you, I probably never would have graduated college. I'm sitting there studying for tests, I'm going to sleep, and she's like, wake up. You know what I'm saying? So definitely love, and definitely for what I know she brings to this relationship, and helps me and helps us to move forward. Just being that voice, and sometimes just being that listening ear. Sometimes you just need a person that you can talk to that's not going to judge, that's not going to, give you feedback. And then on the other hand, you do need someone that you can talk to. And again, that's going to be real with you and say, okay, got it. That's good. But, I always tell people, do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Just tell me where we're at with this conversation, and then we can go from there. So I definitely think that is what has kept us there. And again, our backgrounds are so similar. We came from absolutely nothing. You have some people that have gotten married. One spouse might have been well off, the other one might not have been, and then that causes a lot of problems because one can't relate to the other. One can't relate to someone being poor and this person being well off. Well, we came from the same dirt. And so we know the struggles. We've seen the struggles. From a financial standpoint, from a family standpoint, for having people there. And I sometimes we can sit down and we have conversation and we talk about, wow, babe, wow, I'm so glad, we're different, we came up together this way. So that is what definitely has kept us together. The kids came along after the fact. I mean, we didn't have kids until 8 years after we were married. So they wouldn't even know we're in the picture. We wanted to kind of be us before we brought other lives into this world to make sure we wanted to be together, you know. And so that's kind of how we focus on it. And now, of course, now that they've came, it's definitely added more to it. But from the get-go, it's us. It was about love. It was about being support for each other. It was about being motivation, inspiring, and help the other one, just move day by day.
What about you, Cynthia?
I mean, love is definitely a thing, you know. I always tell Otis, I said, that's my boyfriend, you know, that's my boyfriend, that's my guy, you know. I just feel like, you know, everybody looks for their person, you know, everybody looks for their somebody who complete them, and you know, they talk about all these things. I mean, I think for me, he just completes me, you know, like you know how you have you're thankful for your arms and your legs, and you know, I mean, he's just a part of who I am. I think we're intertwined as one individual. You know, God definitely did that. Which makes it challenging when things are not, you know, when the kids say we're not vibing, you know, we're not vibing, it's kind of weird because I'm like, it's my person. So what's the problem? Like, why, you know, why is this not lining up? You know, this is my person. And so I think love is a thing. I think commitment is a thing. You know, I don't know. I think years and years ago, it was a lady that was the director of a private Christian school, Miss Beth. Remember Miss Beth? She was over this school, and she said something one day. We were at the copy machine or something, and she said, "Yeah, you just have to make a decision on being married or not. Like, are you going to be married or are you not? Like, are you going to do the work, be married and do the work, or divorce and be done? Like, are you and like you know, that's your thing." So for us, it was just like that was just something we didn't talk about. Like we didn't. It was one of those things like people say, you know, the big C. They don't talk about the big C. They don't want to say cancer or whatever. We just try not to say the D word in our house. Like we try not to make it a thing. It's not in the vocabulary. You know, we just, I'm not talking to you today. You know, go away, and we'll come back and we'll resolve it when I can talk to you without yelling or without what did you say? Heated conversation, passionate conversation. That was a good one right there. Passionate conversation. So you know, I mean, you know, he's my guy. You know, it's just like, you know, he's my everything. So when it's not in line, it's weird for me because I'm like, I'm not even right when it's not in sync. You know, when we're not vibing, it's weird. It's like I really can't. My day is off. It's like, and I'm like, we need to fix this, like, so my universe can line back up again. It's just weird because this is my person, and I just think it's commitment, and we made a commitment long time ago, and we took it real serious. And you know, come what may, we were gonna fight for us, you know, fight for us. Okay, kids are here, that's great, but find your way back to me, you know, because I'm fighting real hard trying to get back to you. You know, work is real demanding. You know, this organization is taking a lot, and you know, all these people need, and we're pulling and we're sewing and we're trying, but find your way back to me, you know. And I think that's what we've always like, you know, tried to do, you know, and sometimes are harder than others. You know, it's harder to get back to each other when life is lifing, when things are uphill, when finances are challenged, when, you know, when the job loss is there, when, you know, when the kids are acting up or whatever it may be. You know, it's really hard, and sometimes it feel like it take longer to get back to being, you know, that unified front again. But I mean, it's always a working thing, you know, and I think it's always our fight. You know, we make sure we find our way back to, that's my boyfriend. You know, we find our way back because it's like it's the option. The option is to either find your way back today or find yourself back tomorrow, because it's the option. Like that is the option. But get back here, you know, to us, you know. And so I think that's our thing.
Yeah. You know, talking to a lot of couples, you know, communication is one of the things that always comes up, you know, as something they recognize as, you know, it was a problem that they struggled with or are still struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Just about everybody we talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We on season 3. Everybody we talk to.
Everybody.
You know what I'm saying? Communication was a major, you know, part of some of the challenges that they went through. And my thing is, even with you guys saying the communication piece, you know, because communication for us was a thing, that we struggled with, as for sure. How we communicated with each other, and then the lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Many different things, right, that we dealt with. But I think communication, it's evident that communication is very, very important in a relationship, in a marriage, any relationship really, but specifically in a marriage. We find that we had to do things intentional, and I'm saying that word because that's the main word, intentionally.
Intentional.
We had to work on certain things. We had to put effort and energy consistently toward making our communication better. Is there anything that you guys are doing? Back to my question: is there anything you guys are doing to work in that area, that you guys are doing intentionally to work on your communication and how y'all connect with one another?
Yeah. Date night.
Yeah.
Just getting out of the house. Spending as much time as we can together, just us. I mean, for our 25th wedding anniversary, when we didn't go off and do nothing big and extravagant, we kind of stayed close, but we got away and just spent that entire weekend just, having dinner, having conversation, walking in the park, stuff that we used to do when we were dating, just getting back to that. Taking time to self-reflect, and think about where you would be if this person weren't in your life. I think we all have those thoughts in the back of our mind at some point in time. And honestly, I don't know what I almost sinned again. Where I would have been if, what I'm saying, she wouldn't have been in my life. So, just taking time out for each other, listening, trying to the things that are being asked of you, trying to do them, the little things, whether it's being more affectionate, or the subtle conversations, or just a hug or the kiss on the forehead, or whatever the case may be. So just really trying to listen and take in, or embracing, the sentimental time, the sentimental things, or the just because today is Sunday, I got you flowers, not having to be anything, or just because, it's a great day outside, hey, let's go to the park, so just the what ups, and just doing things without any type of plan, or being more spontaneous. Right. And I think those are the things that we've definitely been working on, because she tells me that a lot. I need you to talk to me. I'm a man of few words, but if you get me to talking, I'll talk. I'm okay with being a listener. I have no issues with that, but I know she wants me to communicate and talk more. So those are the things that definitely I'm focused on and working on.
Yeah, I think that intentional word that you use is pretty much, where we have always been. Very intentional. Like I said, sometimes it's great, sometimes it hits just perfect, it's every month, date night, but sometimes, like you said, just because it's Sunday, let's go out today, because it's Sunday, just because, just because we need a moment, or just being able to cover one another. So like little things, because my faith is big, for me and my sanity, you know what I mean? So, just being able to share those things, like you mentioned earlier about, that's a area he's grown a lot in. And so that's big for me to see that, he accepts that, and he walks in that, and so just areas of him saying, hey, I'm a realist, that needs to be done, like, be over and done with, and to be able to say, okay, I get that. Let's be done with this, and let's, you know what I mean? Let's move it forward on some things. And so to be able to hear one another. And I think that's been the saving grace for us, being real intentional, trying to hear one another, get over ourselves a lot, you know what I mean, with some of the things that we're trying. We got it, we really don't have it, let us get together and be confused together, and then come out, swinging, because we're now together again, for real, and not, fighting against one another. And so that's been our biggest thing, just making sure that we are being very intentional too, with just trying to be together, and focus on, well, what can we do to bring it back to where we are talking more, because it is so easy to just go silent, and so we have our things, we'll go silent. So
Yeah.
Within the years that you two have been married, has there been a time where you guys allowed each other time, not apart, but just time to grow and evolve and self-reflect. I guess go on like a journey of transformation to become the better person or a better person for your spouse?
I mean, you can take a little trip, but you know, but but I mean, yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about, I said that jokingly, but very seriously. I hear a lot of people talk about, yeah, we separated for a time, I left and went on a hiatus for 30 days or whatever. I don't believe in hiatus. We together, we married, you go and get yourself together and you come on back real quick. Like, just cause that's my personality. That's who I am. That's who we are at this point, and so, but as far as like taking all the time you need to be upset, take all the time you need to go and grow, to figure out, do you want to get this master's degree or do you want to just stay where you are? Do you want to change jobs? Go take all the time you need. I'm going to be over here real silent, not suggesting much. I'm just going to be praying my mouth shut, praying for you that you get the answers you need. But we going to do it together. Like you going to come lay down right here. And we gonna wake up in the same space, because I think that's necessary. Like, I don't need you to go and have all this space in between trying to find yourself. You should have found yourself before we said I do. We here now. So let's be lost in this house together in the same bed in the same space. And so, that's just my thing. I mean, but you can be lost all in that room and I won't say nothing to you, but you be in this room or you be in this space. So that's just here, that's just here at our house that works for us. I'm a little weird bird, so I'm sure he is too in his own thing. But yeah, you could be lost, and I could give you all the space you need to be lost over there, and I won't bother you. Yeah, bother you. But you'll be lost here in this space.
I think those, and I think all married couples have those. That's when you just say, like, we ain't talking 2 or 3 days, and somebody's going to have to break the ice and say, all right, it's been 5 days now. Sit down. What's going on? So I would say if we gave some space, that's the only space. The 2 or 3 days, the 2 or 3 days type thing. It's something funny that I was thinking about, and Cynthia and I we talk about it. One of the things that I've always heard, and again, we're definitely from the South, and my uncles would always say, when you get married, don't go to bed mad. Let me tell you something. That's a lie. That's a lie. You're going to go to bed mad.
Yeah.
You're going to go to bed mad. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's okay, because what I think that does do, that sparks conversation and that sparks debate the next day when you wake up trying to figure out, why did you go to bed mad? Because you will.
I think when they said, and I agree too, like, yeah, you're going to go to bed mad sometimes. It is what it is.
That is.
But I think it also means that, if somebody was to go to bed and don't wake up, you were mad the night before, now you're really going to be tore up in the inside because you didn't have a chance to apologize. And so before you go to bed mad, you just got to pray, Lord, please let me wake up the next morning.
Let me wake up, but I'm still not talking to him tonight. Right. Yeah. But I definitely agree.
What do you think, man? Do you think there's a misconception about Otis and Cynthia's marriage in terms of just when people from the outside looking in at you guys? What do you think that people don't know about you guys as a couple, as a married couple, that maybe, if they knew, they would better understand something about you guys?
We had the same problem they had. The thing about it is we don't display it. I tell people all the time, I love social media. I can find out anything I want to know about anybody just by paying attention to what they do. I often tell people, I let you know about me what I want you to know.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when it comes to us, we have the same disagreements. We have the same passionate conversations as any other married couple. We just don't market it and put it on display. And I think that's where a lot of marriages suffer at, because they put it on display. Something Cynthia and I about, like, hey, our business stays in our house. I don't need you calling mama, daddy, grandma, cousin, nobody. What we do is what we do. And how we deal with it is how we deal with it. right? So we have the same thing, and that goes back to what we was talking about the marriage ministry and you being a deacon. Like, who am I to get up here to try to cast and put my hands on somebody when I'm having the same problem? We're imperfect people, and so sometimes people put us, just like I'm sure they put you all, on a pedestal that you didn't raise your hand for. And that's how you see me. But that's not what I said about me. I'm just as imperfect as you are. It's just how you see me, right? And so that's why I say that's where the realist piece comes into play. We have conversations with married couples all the time, and I'm sure we will be in the future. And say, once again, we have our disagreements. We have our financial spats. You know what I'm saying? We have our arguments and different things like that. But it's how we get through it and how we deal with it. We listen to each other. We're never to the point of where we've never been physically abusive to one another, whatever the case may be. We always know, okay, when to stop, okay, all right, let's reset. Okay, how did we get here? What happened? Trying to figure out the why. A lot of people don't do that, though. We know that because that's why that D word, that divorce word, is out there. Some people so quick to do this. I mean, you got people been married 60, 70, 80 years, We only been married for 25, and we meet people married since. Like, whoa, imagine the stories that they got. Can't even touch all of 25.
Yeah.
So it's a commitment, it's a partnership, and it's things that you have to get through in the day-to-day. So what I would tell anybody, we just like you. We just like you. It's just what we allow to illustrate and show you.
Yeah.
It's the key.
And I guess in my thing, we don't, I think marriage, the misconception a lot of times is like, I think people get like and love confused, right? They get it construed. I think it's the difference, I think in like is what a lot of people should say. We're in like, but Otis and I, for the most part, we are always in love, like I always want to see him win. I always want to see him well. I always want to see him succeed. I may not like him. I may not be in like with him, but I'm always in love with him, and so I remember a funny true story. We were headed to Alabama one year, and this was when his mom was alive. And we got down, we had argued. I'm talking about from Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, all the way. Baby, I was giving it to him. He was giving it back to me. We were on it. It was horrible. 9 hours strong. And another thing. We're at each other. It was horrible. We stepped out of the car. His mom came out. She was glad to see us. I mean, it was like an action. Hand went in the sole of my back. I stood up real nice and presented the face. And he was like, "Hey, Mom, I'm so glad to see you. We had a great time. We ate good. We sat good. We had good conversations. Saw all the cousins and the uncles and all the things." I'm talking about like 2 hours of a great encounter. My mom lives about 30 minutes away. We got back in the car and he was like, yeah, he was trying to have good conversation. We had just broke the ice. We've been 9 hours into it, but now we're here with his mom and his family. So it's been 2 hours of fun. So, hey, baby girl, I was like, no, we back on. We back on. We back on. And so I remember, and we got, 30 minutes down the road to my mom's house. It was like, we're back on. And yeah, thank God for the little hotel in the area, because we was able to get back into where we were. I'm not talking to you. He's like, that's good, fine. At least I know where we at, but we got through it. I think it took us a minute to get over it for real. And then we had the best conversation 9 hours coming back to Texas, but it's real life, real stuff. It was important, but it wasn't their business. We're not going to drive 9 hours down here to have you take sides. I don't want you in it. We got it. Even when we don't got it, we got it. It's ours to have or not have, and I think that's our thing. That's our biggest thing. We just try to handle it in the house. We want to be able to relate. We want to be able to hear you. And a lot of times you're not going to get people to think what's happening anyway. They're not going to believe you anyway, even if you tell them. We have people that we tell, hey, well, I'm not working. So, we don't really have it. Y'all got everything. Y'all good. I'm like, I don't always like Otis. Girl, y'all good. Y'all got the best relationship. I wish I had me and Otis. I said, girl, baby, you better sit down and pray for something else. It belong to you. Say what you want. And I'm sure he had the same conversation with people, so I mean, we're not new to it, we hear it, but it's just always funny. So it doesn't matter what we tell them anyway, they still have that bar that they have set in their head that they believe. So we just try to live out our own truth in this house. We try to live it the best way we can. If we speaking, great, get over it, get it together. Maybe not today, but tomorrow, the next day, but in here, and so that we just try to do that. We don't apologize. I mean, I think he's still trying to be in a place where he's like, well, I'm not this, I'm not that. I've already said that. I'm not explaining to you no more my imperfections. If you think it's perfect, then good for you. Woe unto you. I mean, how dare you think that? And we're all human trying to live out this thing for real. And so, but bless you if that's what you think. I'm gonna do the best I can in this house, raising these babies, loving this man, and get up and come out and face the world. But you don't have to know that it's the issue. You know what I mean? And so, but you should already know, your discernment, your common sense should tell you, hey, those are real people too. So that's my thing. And so if it's something we can say to help somebody or to whatever, I think that's the place I've gotten with this outreach and with this ministry thing. Because I still was like, God, no, get somebody else who wear the big hats and have it all together. Like, I mean, get them. I know they got all the answers. Please get them. Get the double-breasted suits. Get them. I know they got the answers. I know, they got it together. We apparently do not. So, but he chose us. So, what you said earlier, those that he chooses, he uses. So, I'm at a point now where I'm good with being obedient. And if you think this brokenness can help somebody, well, let's go. Let us be a blessing to them.
Man, so wow, that's good. Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Moses has a speech impediment.
Mm-hmm. Please send Aaron. Please send Aaron.
Hey, everyone's there to interpret, to kind of help, but the point is,
yeah, Moses
wasn't perfect. He had his imperfections, right? And God used him, right, in an amazing way. One of the best stories, in the Bible that people talk about, right? He wasn't perfect. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. But I think, and I listened to Otis, man. I remember, when he mentioned that, what goes on in our house is our business. We don't want to put our business out there. We don't want to, really share that information. What goes on here is, happens here. And I remember, myself feeling the same way. Tiny, she knows. I'm like, man, I'm telling people my business. Don't be, you know what I'm saying? And it's real though, because I was more like, what happens with us, deal with us, right? And what I've come to find out, what I come to the realization is that the space that we're in, right, with trying to help other marriages, trying to not be the goal for everybody. We ain't couple goals. No, I ain't saying that. But we just in a space where we enjoy people, we enjoy couples, and we want couples to win because we know that many couples are under attack. Yeah. How do we know that? Because ours was under attack and we went through a lot of things, right? And as we continue to go through this journey, we like, man, we probably can share some things with other couples that can help some other couples. And that's it. That would be the bottom line of the purpose of this podcast and everything we do, to encourage and inspire other couples that you can make it, right? Mm-hmm. But what I found is it's almost impossible to do both. We can't continue to be encouraging and inspiring to other couples without being able to be vulnerable and open into what we truly went through. Mm-hmm. Right? You just can't do it. And I think if we continue to try to be in this space and not willing to open up and let people in some of the things that we've actually dealt with and struggled with, then what we're doing it's a contradiction of what we're trying to do. It ain't gonna work. So you don't want to, you're trying to help somebody, but you don't want to tell them what you really went through. That's gonna really help them, right? So I think sometimes, in this space, you got to really take that the ugliness of the things that we've gone through and let God, take our mess and make it a message, to someone else. So Man, but I get it though. To be in this space, you just have to be vulnerable. You got to open up. You got to let people in. And some people may not want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Some people are like, nah, I don't want to open up, my business, you know what I'm saying? And to show people, I don't want to pull back the curtains of my marriage and let everybody look at what's going on. But to be in this space and to truly have the impact that God will want you to have, ain't no way around it, man. So I found that we've been able to be more open, having to be more open in the things that we've went through and experienced in our marriage. That at one point I probably would never like, oh hell, no. But now it's like, you want to talk about it? You want to tell them? You want to tell them our story? And then we open it up, man. So anyway, so I say all that to say, man, it ain't easy, to do this type of ministry, because you really gonna have to open up and kind of let people in to really truly make the impact, that you're trying to make. So tell me this: if someone, knowing what you guys know now, right, in your marriage and everything, if ministry came back, say, hey, Otis, Cynthia, man, y'all had some time off. Would y'all like to come on back and and run the ministry, the couples ministry, and take it to new heights? How do y'all feel about it now?
Well,
do you still feel like, nah, we're not ready?
It's funny you say that. We had this conversation probably 3 weeks ago.
No, anniversary time.
Was it anniversary?
It was February.
Yeah. We already had this conversation, and we know it's coming, and we're ready.
So here's what happened. So that's that to the point that I'm talking about. So here's what happened. Here's what happened, Miss Tanya, Mr. Kevin. Here's what happened. So we were every year in February, I do a 19-day thing. Our anniversary is on February 19th. Every year in February, I do a 19th day, almost like a what's the thing? Like a blog or something, right? So I do this 19-day thing, but it's basically on social media where you can go and read some of our experiences and our whatever. And so every day it's a different story. So people are like waiting on it, like, oh my goodness, what is she gonna tell today? Because we're real secretive, right? So when we're opening up and sharing things, God is, how God is. God is real calculating. He builds you up to a thing, to a point where he's like, this is where I wanted you. This is where you were going. But you don't even know it. You just on your journey trying to be obedient, and you end up in a space, right? And so I've been doing this for the last, maybe 3 years? Well, maybe 5. I don't know. But so every year for 19 days. So this year I decided I'm not doing it. Like, I'm literally not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. We're not doing marriage ministry, and I'm not doing it. So around like day number 9 or something, God said, you got 10 days, countdown. So again, out of obedience, day number, 10, day number 9, all the way down to the 19th day, I started doing these short snippets of our lives. Okay. And so when we left on the anniversary, I had a couple more days, and people were in my inbox, and they were asking questions, and they were like, oh my God, how are you dealing with this? How did you get past this? And what about this? And, how do you trust them? And how do you whatever? And so they had all these questions, and then she's this and da-da-da, different people I knew, and people that had shared my information with somebody else. So I told Otis, as we trying to be on our little, escape, our little staycation or whatever, I said, babe, it's coming again. I said, I don't know. It's going to be really, really soon. I said, this is what God is telling me. I said, if it's in line, it's coming. I said, this is what's going to happen. And then I tell him what's going to happen. I said, we're going to get a call. I told him who it was going to come from. Remember that? Yeah. And we ride in the car. You're like, we even had our little weekend, I said, the marriage ministry is going to be hours to drive again. We ain't going to be able to pass it off to Tracy and Danny. It's going to be hours to drive. I said, God is saying it's time. It's time. I said, we got 25 years in the game. God is saying it's time. He done let us made it for a minute. It's time again. And so he's like, oh, okay. And I promise you, it was the next day? It was 2 days. It was 2 days later. It wasn't the person that I said would call. I'll go ahead and say who it was. It was supposed to be my pastor who was going to call and ask a question. It wasn't him. It was actually one of the girls from the church who's a part of the ministry, one of the ministries in the church or whatever. And I remember asking when we got off the phone with him, I called my pastor. I said, who put our name in there? Like, who called our name, and why did they call our name? So it ended up being like, a group of folks, but it was these couples who had been a part of our marriage ministry in the past, and they're members of the church now. So between them and his daughter, it got back to us in a matter of 2 days. And I was like, and I screenshotted and shared it with him. I was in the store. I said, what did I tell you? And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, you saying yeah, but you better be ready, because
He said he ready now.
yeah, he's talking about, yeah, okay, well, you better be ready this time. So yeah, so we know it's coming. We're not yay jumping up and down about it. I would be lying to you if I said that, but we know it's time. We know it's time.
Yeah.
Because people are still hurting, not because we got all the answers like you said earlier, but people are still hurting, and I know that there's an example that lies here that God wants to use, so He can do some things that He does through His people. So yeah, so we know it's here. So when you asked this question, I was like, oh. So yeah, so we're grateful. We know it's here. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, man. Listen, we need y'all in this battle with us, baby. You know what I'm saying? We all, no, but we need some more soldiers on the field, fighting for marriages, fighting for couples, because, like I said, as our thing here is, is that people suffering in silence, and the people don't want to talk about it. People don't want to share what's going on, and that we can give them a safe space to kind of talk about what's really going on. And allow them to really get that stuff out, because a lot of times they're sitting on it. They're sitting in it, and it's in their spirit, and they don't want to, and it's making them sick because they just can't get that stuff out. They don't want to talk to nobody because it's embarrassing, and it's like, man, you got to talk to somebody about it. And it's something I had to learn. My wife, she's a big advocate on, counseling and stuff like that, and talking stuff out. But it took me a minute, and I'm appreciative that she always pushed for that, because eventually it turned me around and to say, maybe we do need counseling. Maybe we do need to talk to somebody. And usually it feels better, especially if we're working on communication and we don't know how to communicate with each other just yet, to where we know how to communicate in a proper way, right? To where we can still talk to each other with love, with kindness, with gentleness and empathy and stuff like that. And that, if those are things we still working on, then maybe us communicating with one another may not be the best thing just yet for those real deep, rooted situations that we may deal with. So maybe we need to go outside and talk to someone who's a professional to know how to dig deep and kind of unpack some of that stuff with us. So being able to have others, man, just like you guys, man, in this battle with us to help to be a voice for couples, let them know that, hey, look, I'm just a wretch. You know what I'm saying? And like we were talking with a couple earlier, we just want to come and sit in the mud with y'all. You know what I'm saying? We may not have all the answers, but we can come sit in the mud with y'all, and just kind of hear what y'all going through and just kind of, chop it up that way. So it just really a matter of, man, we need more couples that's advocating for marriages, so we can continue to help people, because marriages are under attack, as you guys know, and they need help, man. A lot of us need help, including us. So, but as we're past that hour mark, man, we try to be respectful of people's time, but we would like to ask at least one last question, man. Have you had to, give a couple out there some advice about marriage, of how to deal with, anything that they might be going through? What would be your word of encouragement to a couple right now, just to stay in the fight?
You want me to go?
Yep.
So I think the first thing is to, just accept each other where you are. And then once you do that, be able to start there, be able to just start there. So for us, covering is everything. Like I really need to be able to, it's kind of hard to argue when we're praying for each other or praying together. And so for me, case in point, I will look at Otis sometime and say, cover me. Like I'm really struggling right now. Just cover me. And he'll just begin to pray. The fact that he understands that that's what I'm telling you. You know, I need you to just speak to God, like for me. Like I don't have any words for God to tell him right now, but you love me, right? So you tell him for me, like what you think, you know, my woes are. And so to be able to cover one another and to pray for each other, even when you don't like each other, you know, just continue to speak a word to God on your spouse's behalf. And then to be able to get out of the way and be honest enough that none of us are perfect, right? Including the individual who's upset with the other individual. You know, be honest enough with yourself to say, hey, and if it's me, you know, start with me. If it's me, start with me. If it's somebody that needs a renewing or a change of mind or change of direction, help me to make the change, right? So I can be a better spouse to my spouse. And so I think that's the biggest thing, just to be able to cover and to not stop talking, even if you don't know how. Just continue to communicate, even if it's little, even if it's small, but just check on each other. Because I mean, everybody's dealing, we all deal with our things, you know, and as he walk out into work, and as I walk out into work, and different things that we're doing in our individual journeys, you don't ever know what a person said, how a person looked or perceived them, or how we were made to feel as an individual. So just be their safe space, whatever that looks like, you know. Just be their safe space, be each other's safe space.
And I would just top it off and just say, remember why you said I do. I think that's very important. Remember why you said I do, and know that you're not alone. You're not the only couple that's out there facing some of these challenges and different things that you're going through. And you'll get through it. You'll get through it. It does take time, but communication is key.
I like it. It's crazy how they say communication is the key, and it's like that's one of the things that people struggle with the most sometimes is communication. So if they can get that in order, I totally agree, man. That's a big part of a successful marriage. So, hey, Team Hunter, man, thank you guys so much, man. This was dope. I really, really appreciate you guys' time and sharing part of your journey, man. And I just feel like, you know, y'all getting back in this thing, baby. We got some soldiers that's getting back in the game. Couples ministry, fighting, advocating for marriages. I just feel it. Hey, God dropped that in my spirit. Hey, the anointing. I see.
We gotta be calling you guys. We're gonna be like, listen, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it.
And we're gonna say, but you're doing it. You're gonna do it.
Do it. You gotta do it, man. So
They need you.
absolutely. But yeah, but we truly do appreciate you guys being a part of Couples Connect tonight, man. And yeah, let's stay connected. And like I said, let's advocate for marriages in the right way, man. Like I said, God, He wouldn't be dropping that in your spirit if He didn't believe you guys could do it. You know what I'm saying? He'll never put more on you than you can bear. So I would say this is another part where you just probably have to just be obedient and go step into it. You know what I'm saying? Step into it. So that's faith right there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we're gonna do it. I don't know what He's seeing us, but that's faith. That's stepping into it, right? So
I totally agree.
Yeah. So
Just remember that
God,
yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say, remember that God does not call the qualified; He qualified the call.
That's it.
I agree.
That's it, man. That's
Amen.
it. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to Couples Connect tonight, man. Hey, you got something you want to say about this conversation? Drop it in the comments. We'll respond back, I promise you. But until next time, this is your boy Kev. This is my boo thing.
Tanya.
And this is Couples Connect, baby. We out. Peace.